Michigan Athletic Director Warde Manuel is currently under investigation, and there's been a lot of back and forth lately. Some saying that he will be fired by the end of the week, some saying that he will be retained at the end of the week. I'll give you my thoughts. We'll talk about it all here on the Southern Sports Scene. Welcome on in once again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Lucas Hill. Make sure you all do us a favor, hit the like and share button down below. Turn on the bell notifications so that you are notified every time we go live, posting a video or posting a short on the Southern Sports Scene. As always, we want to thank our good friends and partners over at Frost Buddy. Head on over to frostbuddy.com. Use the promo code SSS15 to get 15% off your first purchase. We also thank our friends at Chike Nutrition. 20 grams of protein, 1 gram of fat, 1 gram of sugar, and every healthy iced cup of coffee and every scoop of Chike Nutrition products. And also, thank you to our friends at Buzzer for allowing us to have our videos and our live shows streamed exclusively on the Buzzer app. So a report came out just the other day. Well, really a series of reports that have been really kind of just coming out over the past, I'd say about 2 days or so. This is one of the first things that you see on the site of Justin Spiro, which a lot of people have been up and down about him. Some say that he's been, here about fake news. Some have been saying about some other things that have been pretty weird, honestly. But let's talk about what has happened over the last couple of weeks. So this is per breaking news. Warde Manuel, quote unquote, will be out as Michigan's athletic director. The university is negotiating terms of his release. An announcement is expected at some point this week. The timing likely coincides with the release of the Jenner and Block investigation into the Michigan Athletic Department, which is also expected by this week. So here is a list of the scandals that have occurred since 2016. And I'll only highlight just a few of these because there are some where it was kind of out of Warde Manuel's hand. There's obviously these little small incidents that don't really get a whole lot of attention. I mean, obviously they are big deals, but still, it just seemed like these are things that kind of got swept under the rug. Such as, firing Mark Rosen, the arrest that he had, the OWI stuff with Greg Scruggs, Fergus Connolly, taking the family car and driving drunk and ends up getting arrested. Or no, that was Xavier Simpson that crashed the car and then lied to the police. But here were the big ones that really, really stuck out to me. There was obviously the dead period that Michigan violated during the COVID year from 2020 to 21. That obviously had a big impact on that team. And I think that was a big reason why Jim Harbaugh was suspended for a couple games back, I believe, during 23. So you have that whole situation. You have the Juwan Howard outburst that occurred from, I think, 2021 to 2023. Juwan Howard just wasn't a good fit for Michigan. It was really, really toxic whenever he was in the building. Obviously, this is a guy that was a former coach of the year. But again, they got tired of his antics. It was ridiculous over the course of how that team kind of fell apart over the last 3 seasons. Confronting a Maryland coach, sparking a brawl with a Wisconsin coach. The situation that he had with John Sanderson, the strength coach a couple of years ago, which is obviously a big deal. So you have all those situations. You also have really the big one that kind of started the domino effect of things kind of falling down in the Michigan Athletic Department. There was the situation with Chris Partridge, who gets fired, who is a former linebackers coach. Partridge was fired, I believe partly because of the deal with the Stallions situation, but I could be incorrect about that. But that leads to a whole ordeal. And now Chris Partridge is suing Michigan nowadays, which I think is very interesting. Okay. He knew about the cover up and he went to go talk to the athletic department about it. Or really, he talked to the head of things like that. And then he gets fired for it. He was accused of participating in the destruction of evidence regarding the sign stealing scandal, and he got cleared of that when the NCAA investigation concluded. And then that's when this lawsuit is currently being placed. Michigan pulled the trigger on it, and in my opinion, I say that partly because Partridge knew about the whole sign stealing. I think he went to go say something, and then that's whenever he got fired. I firmly believe that. Then you have the Matt Weiss situation, who gets fired because of the laptop situation. Man, how that was crazy. You have him hacking into computer access, which ultimately could lead to some CP stuff, maybe some crazy material that he had access to. That obviously is still undergoing. That law, or really that investigation, is still ongoing. There was the LLC that was tied to the Connor Stallions thing, which, in my opinion, I think that this is going to sound really stupid to me. I just have a hard time seeing anything that Stallions did wrong. But the only difference is the rest of college football was doing it. Stallions was just the only one that got caught. So that's my opinion at the end of the day. You have the arrests of two coaches, and Coach Scruggs and Denard Robinson. They both end up resigning. You have the LaTroy Lewis situation where, when he was a GA, allegedly, there were instances where Title IX duties were put on the backside, where things were not really important at the time. And then obviously the biggest one is the Sherrone Moore arrests. So in 10 years, they've had a total of 24 scandals, but really it's 4 or 5 that take the cake, that are the big talking points of this whole situation. And by the way, per this Partridge lawsuit, Michigan cracked Matt Weiss's encrypted devices. They found evidence of cheating, including the sign stealing scheme. Then they hired a private law firm to bury it all and shielded it from the NCAA, the public records, and even instructing them not to put anything in writing. So this was interesting. And by the way, they found a massive amount of material which were not good. And Santa Ono, who was the former Michigan president, orchestrated this covered up. This is very, very, very interesting. I mean, I think that right now, nothing is confirmed at this point. Do I think that Warde Manuel has been a good AD? He's had some really good hires. Okay. Make no mistake about that. Basketball went out and got Dusty May and won a national championship. Michigan football just won a national championship really 2 years ago. 2024 is the year where they won it. But really we're approaching 3 seasons ago that they won it. So 2 national titles in 3 years. You have this whole situation. Does Michigan go out and pull the trigger on it with the way that the athletic programs have been unfolding? And well, I wouldn't really say unfolding, because if they're winning and things get swept under the rug. Let's say that Michigan beats Ohio State last year. Crazy as it sounds. For a 5th year in a row, Michigan beats Ohio State, and at 10-2, they make a college football playoff. Crazy scenario, I agree. But I wouldn't say that they were out of the race until that Ohio State game. But remember, this was a top 15 team. They win that football game, and they likely it would have been between Oregon and obviously Indiana. But I think you could still make a good case where Michigan, despite having those 2 losses, one was a bad one to Oklahoma, one was a blowout to USC, they would have made a college football playoff. Let's say they make it. They get bounced in the first round. Okay, well, you still made a playoff. Do these come to light? Does Sherrone Moore get fired? Does this whole situation with the investigation still happen? We have no idea. What if Michigan didn't win a national championship in 2024? Do these sign stealing or anything else, does the NCAA hammer down on a harsher punishment? Who knows? But remember when last fall, when Michigan got handed those punishments for the sign stealing thing in 2025? You know what they got? It was a large financial penalty. Make no mistake about it. It was expected to exceed it's estimated to exceed over $30 million. You have a show clause for guys like Jim Harbaugh, who gets a 10-year show clause. Denard Robinson gets a 3-year show clause. Connor Stallions gets an 8-year show clause. Then Sherrone Moore gets a 2-year show clause and a 3-game suspension. And there was a 25% reduction in official visits and a 14-week prohibition on recruiting communications during the probationary period. You would say that this was a big hammer. I don't even know how much of a hammer that really was. But let's be real. And a good buddy of mine, and a good friend, or really not really good friend, one of our former media or one of our current media members out there, Joe DeLeon, mentioned this. Why don't we have the same conversations about Georgia, the same ones, or why don't we have the same conversations about Michigan the same way we have them about Georgia? Here's the difference. Georgia, you're talking about 18 to 21-year-olds getting behind the wheel of a car. Okay? That's not an in-house athletic thing that you could control. Now, you could take away their keys, but again, they're still going to find they're still going to find a way around it. Okay? Let's just be real. With this situation, you're talking about people outside the athletic department involved in something that's so much bigger than the game of football. or the game of basketball or baseball or whatever. This is a whole athletic wide scandal that's going on. This is something that is very serious. That is not as something like a DUI or whatever it is. You're involving higher ups. You're involving athletic directors, presidents. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if even some boosters or whomever is involved in this. The head coach. Michigan, and since Warde Manuel got there, has gone through, this is their third head coach in 23, 24, 25, 4 years. Jim Harbaugh leaves to go to the Chargers, bounced after the whole ordeal with the way things happened with the Stallion situation. Sherrone Moore gets fired, which, let's just be honest, he was going to be on the hot seat anyway this year. And then obviously the safe choice when you're now on Kyle Whittingham, which should be better. Basketball-wise, you had the whole Juwan Howard situation. He ends up getting ousted. Dusty May wins a national championship, and now he ends up going to take a rebuild. And by the way, think about this. Dusty May left Michigan, who had a phenomenal recruiting class, brings back a ton of talent. They were going to be a favorite to win another national championship. If not, they would have been a favorite to at least make another Final Four. And you know what happens? He leaves to go to the NBA. I have a feeling he knew what was going to happen. I have a feeling that he knew about the whole situation. I don't think that there was a steady relationship with Manuel. I think Warde Manuel is going to get a show clause. I don't know if he'll work in an athletic department for a while. I think there's a lot of things that are going to happen in the next couple weeks when it comes to this situation. I wouldn't even say next couple of weeks. I'd say the next couple of days that are going to get worse for Michigan. Warde Manuel has already come out and said, there isn't a discussion for me to go. You know what that means? I really believe that they're going to find out a way to pay out his buyout and then get him the hell out of Ann Arbor. And it sucks. Because despite all the off-season drama, and this is what a lot of Michigan fans are going to think, you're winning. You've won 2 national titles in 3 years. You're going to get rid of your athletic director that was responsible for those hires. It's obviously going to be the talk of the town. But is it worth it? You're winning, but what's the cost? I don't know, man. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching us here on the Southern Sports Scene. Leave a comment, leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and turn on the bell notifications so that you are notified every time we go live, posting a video or posting a short. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, you have a great rest of the day. Stay blessed. Don't stress.